And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to United 96 here on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network. We are back with a show in what feels like forever. It feels like a long time, and it has been a long time. It was only 1 week, John, but it feels like a long time.
We left them with a present to tide them over last week.
Yes, we did. Hopefully we have remembered to hit the record button this time.
It's happening.
So you should get the high quality audio you expect from this show and that we pride ourselves in on this show. But John, before we get in, how was your weekend? Hope it was well. I hope it was eventful, maybe less eventful. I don't know what you were in the mood for.
This weekend I was on a trip with my dad on mid upstate New York. So we went to Cooperstown.
Nice.
Went to a classic car museum, which I was for certain was going to be like 3 cars in some dude's garage, because it was one of those, like when you go to the hotel and there's all those like, what can you do around here? Little things you pull. It was that. And I was like, this is going to be dumb. And it wasn't. It was great. It was amazing. And then we went to I went to a Syracuse Mets game. It was a action-packed weekend. How about you, Tim?
I spent the weekend right outside of Philly. One of my wife's college friends was getting married, so we got invited to that wedding. So it's in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. By the way, Pennsylvania, you guys are crushing it with your towns' names. I mean, Phoenixville, King of Prussia apparently is another town name.
They have a big mall there too.
Yes. killing it with your names. Inventive, I'll say the least.
New York just copies towns from England, like verbatim all over the place. And also from Connecticut, weirdly. I think they were just like, I don't know. How many Norwiches do we need? We'll do a couple Norwiches. Let's do some Hartfords. We'll throw them out there.
So that was my weekend. And I tried to keep up with the soccer as best I could. But DC United, it's finally, let's get into it, John. DC United, it's finally over. It's finally done. Shocker. I know everybody was really thinking that this was going to happen, but
we almost had it.
We were this close. DC United officially eliminated from the 2022 MLS Cup playoffs. They have sealed their fate in a, I don't know what we would call this draw. I mean, I think everybody knew that the season was over. Like everybody had in their head, like there was a very slim chance this team was going to make the playoffs. This was more a confirmation as such. Mm-hmm. I think rather than because we've been away from you guys for a while, and John and I are both trying to keep up best we can. So I don't think we're going to go maybe too much like in depth on the latest game. I have some thoughts on the game. I kind of caught at least a little bit of it, was able to kind of parse some things, watch some highlights, did some looking around. John, I just want to give your overall thoughts here. The team's eliminated. That's not great.
No.
What are your overall feelings about the team, the direction? Things have gotten better. They picked up the win against New York, was a nice win. I don't know if we actually talked about that one.
We didn't.
And then they've now played 2 0-0 draws, one against Colorado, one against Real Salt Lake. So they're on a 3-game unbeaten streak, by the way.
How about that?
And they have a win, so you can't call it a 3-game winless streak. So they are unbeaten right now. So I would things do appear to be trending up. I think it's more of a question of how much up, and there is obviously some big question marks. And a certain contract situation getting resolved, I think, would elevate my thoughts about this team. We'll get to that in a minute. But John, I want to get your thoughts first. What are your overall thoughts after these past 3 games? You watched the team obviously live in Colorado. What are your thoughts about the team sort of and where they are and how they've looked the past couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's weird, right? We're fixing holes in the boat. There was a lot of holes in the boat. We were taking on water all over the place. The criticism was we both cannot score and we can't stop them from scoring. We're giving up goals on crosses. We're giving up goals on corners. And they've been able to tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
At the expense of offensive chances in some of these games. Real Salt Lake particularly, I think there were maybe 2 or 3 good chances the entire game. Ola Kamara probably should have scored. Mm-hmm. And we would have been hilarious if we walked out of that with 3 points. But, getting a point, I'll focus on the most recent game. Getting a point at Rio Tinto, or now the unfortunately named America First Stadium,
Oh my goodness.
Is amazing, right? We don't do well at that stadium. We have historically done horrible, aside from a certain U.S. Open Cup victory. Other than that, this team is awful in Utah. So the fact that they could put together what I wouldn't call a 90-minute performance, but frustrate Real Salt Lake, put in a team of the week bench performance apparently for Mr. Ochoa, and continue to give young players an opportunity. I think it's really exciting when you see a 15-year-old starting at center back for DC United. Matai Akamboni was, he obviously played 45 minutes and subbed off after a yellow card, but he didn't look out of place. He didn't look, comparably worse than other center back play we've seen this year. And the exciting thing for me is Wayne Rooney has said, if you play well in training, you'll get on the field. And he said, I'm not a liar. I tell the truth. And I have to show that to the players so that they continue to work hard, all season long. So how do I feel in general? I feel like this is a team that still has a lot to do in certain places of the field. I know that it's way too early. I do think that next year around this time, people are going to be looking at Christian Benteke with a furrowed brow. We'll see. I think there's such a expectation based on his name, where he comes from, the salary paid, not the transfer fee paid, but just the entire dollar cost paid here, that he is in. The expectations are going to be very high for him to achieve, and it's almost, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it will be very challenging. I think we'll be looking at that.
I think the biggest thing obviously has been that his assumed strike partner for next year has been out injured in an unfortunate concussion. And according to Stephen Goff, I believe, who just posted the report for the game tomorrow against Kansas City, also out again. So, concussions are funny things. Sometimes players can get a concussion. They can come back in 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes a little longer. I think they're probably being maybe overly cautious. There's really no point. I mean, obviously you want to get those minutes, but you'll have preseason games where they can build up, next season. So I think obviously you want to see that, also to give teams some light. But I mean, if he goes out, before he's ready and picks up another concussion, that's not good. So, or picks up another injury. So I think you want to be, cautious with him. The season's over.
Yep.
We're just kind of riding out these last few games, trying some different things. I thought the lineup in Real Salt Lake was interesting. I think it was very clear. Akamboe was, I thought, he didn't look out of place, but I kind of went back and I'm like, not really noticing him out in the field, which I guess is a good thing for a
center back. That's fine
for a center back and a 15-year-old. But I don't think, and again, it's his first full professional game. Obviously, he's 15 years old. I certainly can't imagine many 15-year-olds that are out there ready to play against fully professional players. So, we got to obviously be patient with him. I don't think he made any drastic mistakes. I don't think he did anything that made me say, oh, he and Donovan Pines or he and Birnbaum should be the starter. But that's maybe to be expected. One player I do want to highlight, and we'll get to the main, I think the main star of the show for DC United has been these past 3 games. And I think the guy who has basically proven that, yes, he is a talented goalkeeper. We'll get to him in a minute. I do want to say Donovan Pines, especially in this game, maybe if David Ochoa doesn't have any big saves, Donovan Pines would have been my man in the match for the last game. There were just, he had, and if you look at I think the FootMob stats had him like at least 6 or 7, 6 or 7 clearances, interceptions. Like he was just all over the field, and a large reason why, even when attacks got to that defensive area, they were just unable. RSL was unable to get any sort of clear-cut opportunities. So that these past few performances and along with sort of the rise of David Ochoa has also been like Donovan Pines is out there showing like just the pure physical gifts he has, and when he is focused, he has the potential to be I think an elite center back in this league. I still think he has that potential, and it shows in a lot of these performances that he's had in these past few games. I think there was one moment where he recovered the ball, turned, looked up, and just played an inch perfect pass to break pressure out off the line where RSL was challenging and allowed a transition into the attack. And that's a skill set that if he can figure out how to harness and how to really develop, and really, I mean, really with him, it's just, and we've talked about this a lot, it's just narrowing down the mistakes. And he has played pretty much 3 mistake-free games.
You've just jinxed him now.
I've just jinxed him. I know. I probably have. But he was another standout. I think if he can elevate his game, it makes our defensive picture a lot less murkier and a lot less needful. If he can continue to put in good performances down the stretch in these games, then I think maybe if you're Wayne Rooney, you say, well, rather than trying to put all the salary towards maybe we go out and get, instead of thinking we need 2 big time center backs in the MLS free agent market, maybe we just get one really good one, and then we just count on having Pines or Birnbaum fill in, and we satisfy that, and then we focus more on sort of developing because I think this team does need one more sort of elite level attacker to sort of complement, especially when a guy like Taxi Fundas is out. So that's kind of my thought. Do you have the same opinion, or do you think I should be maybe a little bit tepid with my Donovan Pines praise?
Oh, always you should, for sure. I mean, the recency bias that occurs with Donovan Pines every time is you remember it every single time he has a run of. It just happens every season. He'll have a run of games where he'll be like, "This is it. This is our center back of the future. I'm so glad we found this kid." And then he'll have a bit of a turn. He'll have a turn in form, and we'll be right back to where we were. So that's he's running out of chances for that to be true. He's getting older. So now it's no longer, he's not 18. He's not, well, now the new sliding scale for young players in the team has gone down lower and lower. Now 15 is the youngest. So he's a comparable veteran on the back line. Yeah. I mean, it's what we've always said, right? The physical gifts are there. It's always about the passing. It's about clearing up mental mistakes. RNDC said that basically Pines needs a partner to take leadership of the line.
Yep.
Just let him do his thing, basically. And I think that's probably true. Is that Birnbaum? Is it another center back? Is it Paulson? I don't know. That's what Wayne's trying to find out, I think, here in the last couple games. Paulson looked all right in his position. I don't think, I'm wondering if that is their hope for center back of the future, or if he was brought in as a 6, considering we have like 9,000 6s on this team. So that could be it. He might have wanted that's maybe the move you make when you want ball playing center backs, is to try to find a guy has the versatility to also not look out of place in defensive midfield. So that's, he might be the guy.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is, like, we did see one performance from Paulson as a center back in that Philly game, and he got basically
not so good there.
Yeah, bodied off the ball. So I think he's going to be more effective if he's in that sort of center midfield role. Let's get to probably the main star of the show right now, and that's David Ochoa, a guy who may or may not be here next year. I think one thing we learned from him, it took him a couple games to find form, but once he is showing why he is every bit the talent that RSL thought they had as their goalkeeper of the future, and hopefully DC fans are thinking. I'm almost thinking maybe he's performing a little bit too good.
He was going to show out for this game, by the way. That was a bet, and I had a bet that I canceled right before I will cop to this. I don't have to say this because it happened entirely in my head, but I'm going to share this with the listeners. I had a bet for under 2.5 goals in the match for pretty good odds. I was like, that's a decent bet. I wasn't going to bet on DC United to win because I was insane, but that was my bet. And then I saw Matai starting the game, and I was like, cancel bet, cash out bet. I have a bad feeling about this. This is going to go poorly. And, it turns out I was a dummy. It turns out that scoreless draw would have cashed. But, yeah, I mean, he made a number. He reminded me of Bill Hamid there.
Yep.
Basically. Game, point stealing. We have not had that since Bill, when Bill was Bill. And Bill has not been Bill.
What's so impressive about him is Bill would make, around his age, and this is not a knock against Bill necessarily, because he very much grew out of this, I think, but Bill would always make these great saves and everything, but mentally he would have a lot of Donovan Pines-esque mistakes. Sometimes when you're a goalkeeper and you have those mistakes, they would result in red cards. The famous "you can't hold us back" moment came after he was sent off.
It was worth it. It was worth it for the iconicness of the saying and
it was, but it
and the
was
meme.
it was something that dogged him, and that is not something you really see right now from David Ochoa. He is very much in control of the matches. He's making the right moves. He's making the big saves, and he is winning this team. He is getting this team points. And DC should be doing everything in their power. Honestly, if it means giving up a designated player spot to keep him, I don't know. Maybe you make that move.
Ooh.
Maybe you make that move. I don't know if I don't think they will, because I think they certainly want to use that. But maybe he gets above that threshold and then he becomes, a GAM/TAM level player. I think that's certainly worth it for what we've seen so far. You're going to have to pay him, because I guarantee you there are teams out there that were scouting this kid and then he's been gone for a year and like, well, maybe we're not so interested. Then he gets another chance. He gets put in, front of these games, and I guarantee you there are probably some teams that are still interested. Again, as I've talked about, the goalkeeper position is not like, if he was playing at this type of level and he was like a 6 or a 10, I would think those calls would come maybe a little quicker, because those are easier positions to break into. When you're a goalkeeper, like, you're either the starting goalkeeper or you're on the bench. There's no other position you can kind of slot yourself into, maybe to get minutes or to get, or get subbed in even too. You can't even be subbed in, obviously, regularly as a goalkeeper, unless something has gone horribly wrong. So I think that is, again, probably weighing on his mind. He comes here, he knows he will be the starter. No question about it at this point. So we'll see. The team has apparently entered contract negotiations, according to Golf. I'm not, I really don't know how to read this. I think it's honestly, I'd say it's about 50-50, whether he's back here next year.
Jesse Leifert in the chat is bringing up his quotes about wanting to play in Europe, his quotes about wanting to play in Mexico. I think there's something to that. I think it's all about negotiating. He's negotiating in the press. I will say that David Ochoa is not going to be a guy who just stays quiet for the benefit of the team and the benefit of professionalism or whatsoever. We don't know him personally. All we know about him is his short track record as a pro. And what we would know is that the man is going to do what the man wants to do. He is looking out for his future and his opportunities. So I think that we're looking at a situation where, like you say, they're going to have to pay him. I think it also matters how long he keeps this up. Does he throw clean sheets the rest of the season? That would be something. Certainly, I think that. Someone else also mentioned, SC Lad also mentioned Hamid's recent tweets saying that he might stay. I just looked before we got on the show. It came up. It was a picture of the nursery he set up for his baby. And he's, by the way, I love that. Congrats to Bill and his, I think, girlfriend. I'm not sure. And also congrats to Russell Canals, who played in front of his child for the first time. That's very awesome. But Bill said, little hiatus to become a father after 14 years playing professional soccer, feeling blessed and motivated. And I cannot wait for my son to watch Daddy play next year. The future is bright, and for him, I'm coming for it all. P.S. Putting up wallpaper ain't easy. It's not. But I don't think that's here. I think he just means that I'm going to play no matter what. And if we sign Ochoa, clearly he's gone. I think if you just gave him Bill's money, I think that might be enough.
Yeah.
And I think if he does this for the rest of the season, you give it to him.
Yeah.
I think motivation's important for him. And I think that keeping him happy. He's a player that needs to feel valued, I think. And he's a player that needs to feel like we are counting on this guy. And we're showing him how much we value him by the fact that we're paying him better than the top, in the top 10 of, at least in the top 10 of MLS keepers. So
I'd be curious to see where Bill Hamid's salary, because that was apparently a big holdup in the contract negotiations. I appreciate your sentiment, Jesse. Obviously, he's going to say he wants to be out there in Europe. I'm sure every goalkeeper wants to. But if DC comes in and says, "Hey, you said in the press you want to be paid like a top 10 goalkeeper. We think you're worth that top 10 slot. Here's a 2-year deal with an option for a year, and then give us this year under Rooney, and then obviously we'll have, and if things are going well, stick around for next year. And then if you perform really well, if you're MLS goalkeeper of the year, we'll look for a sale. Look what we've done with with Kevin Paredes. Look what we've done with other players.
Moses Nyman.
Yeah, Moses Nyman. We'll give you that. We'll give you that deal. Obviously, I think it'd be a little different. I think there is a sell-on percentage that RSL would get. I'm pretty sure that would be that
a big one.
Yeah,
50%, I believe. By the way,
Yeah.
Bill Hamid's on $700,000, which sounds a lot until you realize that Nigel Roberta is on $622,000. And Steve Birdbaum's on $762,000.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, if that is a top 10 contract, you give that to him. And to respond, I think Bill will find himself the brand new potentially the starting goalkeeper for the St. Louis MLS expansion team. Would not put it past him to be that. I think I've named
St. Louis FC. Is that what their dumb name is?
It's like, what is it? Yeah,
AFC St. Louis FC Soccer Club.
I don't remember. I don't honestly remember. They'll be in here next year, I'm sure.
Yeah, they don't matter. We need to know about them once they start stealing our players in the expansion draft.
St. Louis City, all capitals. City, all capitals. SC.
Cool. That can't be. Is it? You think that's the real design? Like it's going to be all caps like that?
Oh,
I hope so.
I think it is. That's how they have their Twitter account.
Oh boy, that's dumb. That's dumb. New teams have to be different, right? To try to stand out. But
yeah. So I think I've said. I think there's probably a lot of players. We'll see. I think Bill. If I'm looking as an expansion team, I've got a lot of extra GAM. I don't want to waste it on an international slot. I want to get a guy with MLS experience who maybe just needs a different environment. I think Bill could be a good option for that. So I don't think he's going to be here. I think the team is kind of ready, to move on. So, by the way, great article. I don't know if you read too. Speaking of integrating players into the team. I don't know if you read the latest article from Stephen Goff, sort of about Wayne Rooney integrating himself into the guy is a player's manager, and I'm starting to, I guess, with this whole transition, I wasn't sure it was going to work. I thought I'm not sure we have the defensive prowess to hold this, and I'm still not. Part of the reason these games have been 0-0 is that the team is very much controlled in what chances that they're going to take. That means they need to be clinical. They haven't been very clinical. And that's why you're seeing 0-0. You're seeing a lot of, 0.5, 0.6 XG. But one thing I think he is really flourishing, and one thing I think that is a major upside to him, and I think why they brought him in, is that he's a guy who really likes to spend time with players. I think he has especially said he's trying to get to know the guys who were not here in 2018. Your Miguel Berry, I think, mentioned that I think he picked him up or something, like the trade. He's like, yeah, I'll go pick him up. Let's go pick him up. So,
living with his assistant coach right now in a rented home. That's a move. It's very weird. It seems like it's almost like a summer camp situation, or he's in a dorm, and everyone fixated on the fact that he is not with his family or whatever. But this feels like soccer college for him, coaching college. He had Derby County, obviously, but this is his opportunity to build a team and build a team again. I probably actually have more resources than Derby County. I'm not
sure.
Totally sure, but I would assume so.
And have you have owners that have Jason Levin and Steve Kaplan have the ability, if they really wanted to go out and do what Wayne, to pretty much do what Wayne says they want to do. There's just clearly not a ambition or drive to do so. They are not, broke owners. They are not, Steve Kaplan is a billionaire. He has the money to do so. Jason Levin, not so much, but certainly a guy who is not poor. If he wants to invest this money and help build this team, he has the resources to do so.
He's just very comfortable spending other people's money. That's the thing you can say about Jason Levin.
Yeah. So, you look at Wayne Rooney coming into this year. If Wayne Rooney says he wants something, I think he's going to get it. So,
we'll find out.
Yeah, we will absolutely be finding out.
If you listened, if you listened to the Sean Howe interview last week, it sounds like they don't feel super resource constrained. It sounds like they're not rubbing pennies together to make a move. It also sounds like defense goalkeeper needs to be sorted out. So obviously Ocho is the chosen person there, but they know that defense still needs to get better from a manpower perspective, and they want to use that DP. And he sounded pretty positive that a big signing was going to come in January, so it's probably already on deck at this point. You got to feel good about it. This next year is, I don't think you need to feel good about DC United 2024. I don't think there's a lot of reason to do that. But I think you've got to feel like 2023 will be a season that is interesting to watch. It's worth, investing in your time and effort into the team to see where they get, because it's going to be exciting. I don't think it's going to be, it won't be boring. We said that please don't suck and be boring. At least be interesting. I think next year is going to be kind of interesting.
Yep. Go for the Open Cup.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, Ted. You brought that up. A lot of people agree with you on Twitter about that.
Yeah, so I did. So, I was thinking, what is a realistic, like, if we want to do at least one thing, like, so obviously MLS Cup, I'm sure, is a pie in the sky dream. Mm-hmm. I think based on what we've seen, I think this team did make a tremendous step forward in their signings. None of the signings look like completely terrible, like you're not sure how this is going to work. Ravel Morrison looks solid.
Yep.
Martin Rodriguez, I think, has actually been the bigger surprise for me. I was not expecting him, actually. He's had some very, very solid moments. Very, very thankful he did not look like he had picked up an injury, I think, against Colorado, and it looked pretty serious. And I think a lot of fans were speculating that he might be done for the season. But apparently it wasn't as bad. He was back. So that was very, very good. Not a perfect player by any stretch. None of these guys they've hired, Victor Paulson, Ravel Morrison, or Martin Rodriguez, they brought in sort of other guys other than Benteke that they brought in are perfect players. But they do show that they are talented. They have something in them. If you can figure out a way to kind of get all those pieces to fit together, get the chemistry of a preseason going, get a set style that works and that's effective, you could see these players being all contributing and being very, very effective. And looking at obviously with Benteke and everything like that. So I think they've done enough to sort of get that sort of next step up. We're not an embarrassment anymore like we were. We are a team that you need to take seriously, otherwise you will lose, like New York did. They very clearly, like, we're just thinking they could just push us over. We knocked them in the mouth, and they had to kind of scramble to get themselves together. So, so coming up on this next season, MLS Cup obviously is a pie in the sky. We'll know basically by midseason whether that's even a realistic possibility. It probably won't be unless there is just a massive turnover and it all just works. Because that's the biggest thing, is like it all has to fit together. And that's never a guarantee when you're making a whole bunch of signings. But if I am the ownership, I'm thinking, well, what trophy is like well within our reach that would get fans back in? It would give us something that even when Wayne leaves, we can kind of build on. And that's the US Open Cup. And I think they should absolutely just go all in on that tournament. Even if they, you have enough time to sort of build up. If you're undefeated and winning and top of the league at the first third of the season, then sure, maybe then that changes your expectations. But if you're kind of middle of the pack, play your starters, sacrifice a league game here or two, go for that Open Cup. You get yourself to the final, you end up hosting that final, and it can be a launch board for a chance to go and win MLS Cup. And you saw the crowd that was in Orlando for that game. It was a sold out crowd. I mean, it was a packed house for that game. Of course, it had its own little like Spygate going on and everything like that. In my opinion, you have to go for that. And I think that's a great trophy to sort of get it. And also potentially,
what else, Ted? What else do we get out of that?
We get a spot in the CONCACAF Champions League.
That is correct, sir.
Yes. And also, we forgot about the Leagues Cup coming up too next year. So, and that's also, that could be a motivational factor to keep waiting around for that option year. Coming up, you've got that CONCACAF Champions League coming up, a chance to, really, really put a staple on the team or on the league and really give, hey, here's this next step. We're going to go and try to, win that and, really become potentially a major powerhouse if you go out and compete in that Champions League. So I think that's an idea. If I'm looking for maybe a way to keep Wayne around, is to give him enough motivation to want to stick around and to show the growth. I think there is, everybody's kind of assuming this is a 1-year contract, and it very well could be. There's still that option. I don't know. I don't know if Wayne really feels like he can come back next year and win a championship with this team, and sort of the last year of this contract, if things are going really well, I could see him sticking around. I could honestly see him stick around for at least one more season. I think it's all going to ride on how 2023 goes.
I think the weird thing is it's completely out of our hands how it goes. We are completely at the mercy of the hiring situation in the Premier League. That's really what it's about. Honestly, it's about where that's what he wants. That's been discussed. So the question is, does a job that he likes open up in the next 12 to 18 months or 24 months? And if nothing opens up, that's certainly a good reason to stay. No one is going to hire him in the Premier League because he won the Open Cup. Clearly, performance here doesn't really matter. He just basically needs to not embarrass himself. Like not have more 6-0 losses over and over again. Not end up in the front page of a British tabloid because of DC United being so horrible. If that doesn't happen, his name is going to be in the top 5 for any opening that happens, just because of who he is and his stature in the game. So what we have to hope for, you and I both, I think, is some managerial stability in the Premier League in the next 24 months. We got to hope that nothing opens up. I don't think he's going to leave for like Derby again. I think he wants to make a step up. So the Everton job that he supposedly spurned, if that were to come open again, which could entirely happen. Yeah. That's the problem. Like if we're hoping on managerial stability, that's not a great thing.
No, not in the Premier League. Not with this thing called relegation that forces managers. Every manager, there's always managers that get fired in the Premier League. I don't know. I could see him. I think winning the Open Cup, I think at least showing you can sustain success. Sure, like if he won the Open Cup, would the average fan in Everton know that, or in Liverpool know that he had won the Open Cup? Probably not.
But no, they'll be watching on Apple TV. They'll know because there'll be MLS fans.
Well, that's U.S. soccer, so that won't be on. That'll probably still be on ESPN Plus.
But they'll be clamoring. They'll be demanding Apple TV win that contract, because they've been watching like Colorado versus FC Dallas on a Wednesday night now that they're able to do so.
But do I think that could make some noise and show an ability to take a team that's last place and have them win a trophy or a championship? I think that could be a significant sign, and I think could help boost his profile. And
I think a good narrative for sure.
I think the option year is all we'll do this for a year. Let's see how it goes. We'll talk at the end of the year. And if there is an offer that comes through, he says, "Look, I can't turn it down." Obviously, I think he jumps.
Yes,
we'll see. It's honestly, who knows? Who knows at this point? I think though, maybe you could convince him away from like the Bournemouth job or the Leeds United job. Like if a team like Man United or Chelsea or
if Man United goes, we will see a trail of cartoon dust. He'll create the sonic boom with the speed at which he swims back to England. Exactly. That's not even Chelsea very well could be an opening. The hot seat is super hot now with an American owner who just wants to let a manager completely rebuild the squad and then give him 7 games. That's what he wants to do. Yeah. So it's entirely possible that Wayne could go find another job.
So certainly that certainly could happen. And he could be gone. If one of those big offers come. But I think having success here, if the big teams are not really looking for a new manager, they're mostly things are stable that year. They're taking themselves into the sort of the fall season. And, maybe he's getting some offers for some of the smaller Premier League sides, even some championship sides, having a successful stint here, having, Champions League the next season could say, well, if I build on what I have here and we go out in 2024 and really compete and, win an MLS Cup, then that almost cements myself potentially at looking at even the bigger job than what I'm used to getting. So I think I would not be surprised if he would stay here for 2024. I would not be surprised if things go well. If things are kind of middling in 2023, I think he'll be gone. But I think if things are really successful, you could see him saying, "Hey, I've got a good thing going here." I've seen managers' careers turn south very quickly. And
have we at this club? Have we seen that happen?
Whole lot.
Yeah. Well, listen, Ted's the optimist. I'm the pessimist. We'll see how it goes here in 12 months. However, though, no matter what, we've got a 2023 to be excited about and look forward to.
Yeah, we do. Any other thoughts, sort of, I guess, sort of overall on anything else? Let's talk a little Benteke. I do want to talk about him, just a little bit. What your overall thoughts, I guess, on what you've seen for him? Obviously, I think a strong performance. the question's always going to be, he is paid to score, paid the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
You do expect goals to come. They haven't come. He's more been kind of a hold up player.
But very good at that.
Very good at that. Are we maybe do we need to change at all our perspective on what he brings to this team? Or should we still say, nope, if he's not scoring 15 to 20 goals a season or the next season, then he was a bust and we need to.
It's tough. I mean, his recent statistics bear out the fact that he's not being as prolific as he used to be. And I tweeted about it during the Colorado game, is that the one thing he does at an elite level at MLS right now with no conditioning and no experience with his teammates is win aerial duels, hold the ball up, soak pressure. We haven't had that at all. And that creates a little bit more flexibility on what our attack can look like. Because what were we doing all year long, with Chads, with Wayne, whoever, we've been trying to whip balls in from the sides and that was our offense. If Taxi was playing, Taxi could do some stuff. But from the other standpoint, our offensive buildup was usually through the wings or on set pieces. So what he allows is when Taxi is healthy and we give him the proper football pads to be able to play in MLS because he's being targeted, he's creating opportunities for those runners, for those secondary offensive players, a second forward, a 10, to be able to cut inside and take that ball and go towards goal. I think that's exciting. I'm curious if that's what Wayne had in mind when he brought him. I think he probably thought additionally that he could score too. There's, he may be a little bit biased by his experience coming in MLS and being who he was and be like, yeah, I could score, no problem. I'll score 12 goals. Who cares? I don't know that it's that simple to just come in and do that. So that's why I'm concerned about next year. Him succeeding and being seen as a quality signing, if he's not going to score, requires other players around him to do really well, and for him to bring the level up so that we're not focusing so much on our highest priced acquisition of all time. But if that isn't the case, if Taxi doesn't have a great follow-up year, if he's not able to bring other players in and the whole team isn't clicking, I think you're going to see a lot of attention on him, particularly if he's just a hold-up player. If he's Peter Crouch. I mean, I don't think that's what you pay all that money for, but maybe it is. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if he comes in and has that elite hold-up play and it leads to a guy like Taxi Fountas getting an extra 5-10 goals a season. He picks up a lot of assists. I think that's going to be the key thing. If he's doing the elite hold up play, then I expect some assists to be, some more assists than I would expect for my, star $17-20 million, however much we paid for him. Striker.
Too much.
We did pay too much, but again, as I've stated, it doesn't matter. Once he gets above that threshold for a player, it really doesn't matter.
And it's not our money.
We could have paid $12 million. We could have paid $15 million. It really doesn't matter with MLS and their salary cap rules, as I've stated consistently. So, I mean, I think that's going to be. I think the partnership with Taxi Fountas is the most important thing for the remainder of this season. If they can develop some sort of chemistry, some sort of partnership that you can use in preseason, they can sort of learn a little bit about each other. They can sort of be effective. Then I think we have something here, and that's just what we haven't had an opportunity to see because Fountas has been out injured. So I think we'll at least see a couple games. We'll see a couple games with them together. I'm trying to think how many more games we got left? 4? Is it 4?
That sounds right.
Yeah,
3 more home games.
Yeah. So 4 games, I think, left for the rest of the season. I think that's about right. It's a 34-game season,
folks. When we are eliminated from the league, we lose a little bit of our sharpness. So you'll have to forgive us for that.
And we've been out, 4 more games. So it's 34-game season. They have 4 more games left this year. I hope he's back at least by the next game. And I saw one tweet saying, "Well, we should just shut him down." I'm like, I don't think you shut him down
for concussion. No, not really.
Yeah, you keep him out there. You keep him out there when he's ready. But
if he's ready, he's ready. It's not like it's a muscle issue.
Yeah. So, and again, injury reports can be weird. Maybe they'll say he's out, and then they'll say, "Nope, never mind. He looks good."
Ted, do you miss Hernan's injury report trickery? I do.
maybe that's funny. Maybe that's one thing Wayne learned from it. So,
yeah, I like
and also, we'll see. So I do think you're going to see at least a couple games with him once he's back from that concussion, and I think that that chemistry is going to be crucial. If those guys get off to a hot start and they, immediately connect and click, we have something here, and we have something potentially transformative on the offensive side of the ball.
Would you believe that we have the worst goal differential in the league?
I would.
Would you believe that our goal differential is exactly the same number as our total number of points in the season? Negative 27 at 27 points.
I would believe that. It's been
pretty wild.
It's been a bad year.
It has been quite a bad year. Wooden Spoon, I think, approaches. I think San Jose, has. Did they win? They've won a game. I mean, so have we. So we're accumulating points too. It's going to be quite a race these last 4 games. Keep your eyes peeled on that bottom of the table. It's the question. Like, do you want? It's like one of those. What do they say now? Suck for luck is the one that's always in my mind. Whatever the new thing is now for being bad to get a better draft pick. I wonder if that's at play here. Like, we're gonna play Matai at forward. We're just gonna John Kempen starting every game, giving some guys some opportunities.
Yeah, right now they are. So the game against Kansas City is a potential wooden spoon type matchup. A game I think they could go in and win against Kansas City. They have not. I mean, it's not been a good season for them. They are.
My money is on another 0-0 draw. By the way, I've not made my bet yet, but I'm going to go for a third consecutive goalless draw.
Tim Melia has been hurt for them. He's still been hurt, and that's been a big loss for them. They got a 0-0 draw against Houston, a 2-2 draw against KC. The infamous, should have been 3-2 loss. The infamous PK, I think, got him. So, all right, folks, I think that's going to do it for this episode of United 96.
I'm going to have privilege real quick, Ted.
Yes.
Before we leave. Folks, obviously, we love when you support the show on patreon.com/RFK Refugees. If you want to support me outside of the show, I have a fundraiser hosted for the American Kidney Fund on my Twitter account. So if you want to go to that and potentially give some money for kidney research or helping people who have kidney failure, who are experiencing dialysis, trying to get a transplant, take a look, ask any questions, and I appreciate it. It's on _John_Hoffman on Twitter, which you've seen me from before. But also, you can also do patreon.com/RFK Refugees. You can subscribe to us on Twitch, and you can always write reviews and rate the show on whatever platform you're on. We always enjoy that. And we're going to keep on trying to get you guys these special interviews for our Patreons first. I always say it's 7 days, but basically you're going to get it first, a couple days early. I don't know exactly how many days, but it always depends. But I think the Sean Howe interview was interesting. He sort of shed some light on some stuff, and I asked him about, if you haven't listened to it yet, I asked him about the playoff quality roster statement that he didn't make, but I asked him if he wanted to defend it or not. So take a listen to that if you haven't yet on our podcast feed. And thanks for all the ways you support the show and me and Ted.
Yeah, fantastic interview done by John. So that is something I would, if you're a DC United fan, if you want a peek behind the curtain, if you want to. You can go listen to this right now. Everything holds up basically true. I don't think he talked about any sort of more recent things that might change.
Nope. You can listen to it every week for the next 52 weeks, and it'll still be relevant
until the transfer window starts up and we sign Lionel Messi. I don't know. Then maybe that gets blown up. All right, folks. Thank you again so much for listening. Remember, you can donate on Patreon. If you already pay for Amazon Prime, everybody. I don't think I know anybody who doesn't. I'm sure there's some people out there, but no one has Amazon Prime. Go to twitch.tv/RFK Refugees. And hit that button where you can subscribe with your Prime. You link your account, super easy. Boom, you can give us support without actually having to open up your wallet, so to speak, even though you do pay for Prime. But, everyone does. Anyway, guys, we'll check you out next week. We'll have other more recent games to talk about that John and I will definitely watch, and we'll be able to give you better details. So we'll catch you guys next week. Vamos.